Vanakkam Doha Deva and everyone. Wonderful to be with you. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadi Tamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. And we'll try to share the screen here. There it is. First topic. We are continuing with the Nartana Ritau. Major theme, of course, is planning. Best time of the year to make plans for a year or more into the future. Gurudeva divided the planning and implemental process into 4 steps. He wrote a sutra which states, Shiva's devotees approach every enterprise with deliberate thoughtfulness and act only after careful consideration. They succeed in every undertaking. And the question for you, what are the 4 steps of the planning and implementation process found in that sutra? Having a clear purpose, wise plan, persistence, and push. So purpose, plan, persistence, and push. 4 words that begin with P. Another term for purpose is goal, and we looked in depth at goals during our last Zoom satsang. We have also talked some about the need for a wise plan. Third part of the sutra is persistence, and we'll look at that in more depth today. Persistence is the 6th yama, and we're looking at some slides that are really, really old here, before I knew how to put in photos and things like that. So the Sanskrit term is dritti. The meaning is foster steadfastness, overcoming non-perseverance, fear, indecision, and changeableness. The instinctive quality we are harnessing is a tendency not to stick to what we start. Then we did this one. I'll just summarize it. Back pain, chronic back pain. Remember the chronic back pain, he jumps around from remedy to remedy. He does each remedy about one or 2 months and drops it and moves on to another remedy. And of course never makes progress. And this happens in Hinduism as well. We visit one Swami and he suggests we chant a mantra. We do this for a few months and stop. We visit another Swami a year later and he suggests meditating on the inner light. We do this for a while and stop. This, of course, produces no tangible progress in our spiritual life due to lack of perseverance. So Gurudeva comments on the importance of steadfastness. Spiritual path is a long, enduring process. It does not reach fruition in a year or 2 years. The spiritual path brings lots of ups and downs, and the greatest challenges will come to the greatest souls. With this in mind, it becomes clear that steadiness and perseverance are absolutely essential on the spiritual path. Dudakaro, chapter 62 on perseverance, 6:12 verse. Beware of leaving any work undone, remembering that the world abandons those who abandon their work unfinished. Very visual image there. The Kriya chapter states that perseverance creates prosperity, the ability to overcome misfortune, and to be generous and charitable. It also states that lack of perseverance brings shame, abandonment, and misfortune. So we definitely want to stick to what we start. One of Gurudeva's Mahavakya applies here as well. Consistency is the key to the conquest of karma. So perseverance is a type of consistency. Oh, another question for you. What are some of the common reasons for non-perseverance? Creative spelling of reasons there. Why do people stop after they start something? What are some of the common reasons? I think I have 6 here. So there's quite a few. I'm sure you can figure out 1, 2, or 3. Why do people commonly stop? First reason, the original decision was an emotional whim rather than a well thought through plan. So lack of a wise plan. Our example, we have lunch with a colleague at work who shares with us how he purchased a second home and is renting it out and earning excellent extra income, enough to take his family on pilgrimage to India last month. You think this idea is great, and wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to take your family on pilgrimage to India as well? You immediately purchase a second home and rent it out. After a year, you realize the price you paid was too high and you are earning less than the cost of the home, and the enterprise is actually lowering your savings for the pilgrimage rather than increasing it. Therefore, you have to sell the house and incur a loss. What went wrong? The initial decision was flawed as it was based on a passing emotion rather than a well-conceived plan. This problem can be avoided by taking time to make decisions, carefully gather all the facts, talk in person to others who are successful at the enterprise, share all this information with family and friends, pray to Lord Ganesha for guidance, put all this information in a detailed plan, and if you have a guru, ask for your preceptor's blessings on the plan. So, second reason, we embark on the endeavor without a clear purpose. For example, our best friend starts to study Bharatanatyam, so we start as well. After 5 months, we conclude this is too much work and give it up. Our reason for pursuing it was not solid enough. The fact that our best friend took it up. To stick to an undertaking, we need for it to be meaningful to our life, not to someone else's. Third reason, changeableness. Changeableness means indecision, not being decisive. How can we discriminate between this and the strength of a person who changes his or her mind and wisdom because of changes of circumstance? A person who is changeable is fickle and unsure of himself, changing without purpose or reason. Ritau, steadfastness, describes the mind that is willing to change for mature reasons based on new information, but holds steady to its determinations through thick and thin in the absence of such good reasons. Its decisions are based on wise discrimination. Having made a solid decision in the first place, only reconsider it in light of new information. Fourth reason, not using enough willpower. Another sutra, Shiva's devotees, by remaining steadfast on the path, upholding the yamas and niyamas and relying on their indomitable will, move the forces of the world and are not moved or affected by them. So that's the water on the lotus leaf. What does Gurudeva mean by an indomitable will? Willpower is channeling the rarefied energies of the body of awareness itself into attention and concentration upon everything that we do through the day. How can this be cultivated? We did that last time. 2 ways. Finishing every task that you start and doing it well. A little better than our expectations. So this just repeats that. Finish it, do it well. 5th reason for not persevering is setting the goal too high. Therefore, we do not achieve it in a reasonable period of time and give up. Sincere seeker sets the goal of realizing the self in 3 years. 1st year practicing charya. 2nd year focusing on Kriya. 3rd year mastering yoga. And at the end of the 3rd year, he will become a jnani through self-realization. This, of course, is not realistic. Such an approach can cause the seeker to give up the spiritual path altogether. Therefore, be sure to be realistic in the goals you set. How can you do that? Ask others knowledgeable in that field if your goal is realistic before you finalize the goal. 6th and last reason, countering obstacles. There is a false Hindu concept held by some that if my endeavor encounters obstacles, then Lord Ganesha is telling me what I am pursuing is not the right course of action. I should stop trying and rethink the entire project. Gurudeva's teaching is that the more ambitious a project is, the more obstacles will be encountered. Therefore, if your goal is an ambitious one before you start, anticipate encountering significant obstacles. And when you do, you were already expecting them and therefore are not discouraged. So we need to be realistic on the number of obstacles that are likely based upon the complexity of a project. Oh, of course, we have our own Yerevan temple. How many obstacles have we encountered? Lots. By persisting, each barrier was overcome. Therefore, when obstacles come up, you can smile instead of getting discouraged. You say, oh, obstacle number 1, here you are. Welcome. It's been about 3 or 4 months since we started. That's about right. You're not surprised or disheartened. So I remember once we had a significant obstacle. The Silpis went into the American consulate in Chennai and they were refused their visas. Panic, right? No, we didn't panic. We researched it and found out why they were refused, and the State Department was in the midst of considering rewriting the requirements of that particular visa category for Silpis, but they hadn't done so yet. So the consulate person in Chennai actually made a mistake, and it took us a number of months to research it and figure it out and clarify it and get them to go back in again. In fact, we had to hire one of the best immigration attorneys in Washington, D.C. to help us out. Fortunately, she gave us a very good rate. Oh, the last concept in Gurudeva Sutra is push. Push in this context means willpower, the ability to power something through to accomplish it. So we talked about that, and then there's another P which Gurudeva added in some of his writings, and that's prayer. He wrote, be sure to initiate your wise plan with prayer. Oh, what does that mean? In other words, go to the temple and have an archana done. For example, to Lord Ganesha, and start the activity out with religious blessings. That's our Ganesha here, for those of you who aren't familiar. It must have been a festival day, very nicely decorated. It is also helpful, particularly for major activities, to begin on an auspicious day. Hindu astrology can provide information as to which days are auspicious and which days are inauspicious for starting new endeavors. So days can be auspicious for one thing, but not another. So this is a day that's auspicious specifically for starting new endeavors, and that's, you can see Yerevan temple there, very small in the middle with the rainbow. And that happened, so we got a double rainbow there. You can see the second one really, really faintly. That happens in the morning here when maybe between an hour and 2 hours after the sun has come up, it's not too bright, and you have a lot of moisture in the air. So the combination of being near the sunrise and having a lot of moisture in the air can produce beautiful rainbows, which is the symbol of auspiciousness, of course, in this slide. So, summary: a clear purpose, wise plan, persistence, and push, initiated with a prayer, is definitely a powerful combination for successfully achieving your major life goals. So this is for major goals. You don't have to go through all of this for something very small, but for something big, you really want to go through all these steps. Moving on, second topic. Creativity, which is the 16th character quality of our character building workbook. How would you define creativity? Workbook gives this definition: creativity means being imaginative and inventive. I strengthen it when I approach tasks with full energy, originality, artistry, and intuition. The opposite is unoriginality. And we have some quotes from Gurudeva. We must remember that to restrain and moderate desire allows the energy which is restrained and moderated to enliven higher chakras, giving rise to creativity and intuition that will actually better mankind, one's own household, and the surrounding community. Second quote: a devotee who can command his mind to be instantly creative and be consistently successful has acquired a conscious control of the use of the sub-superconscious state of mind. Good goal. Comparing the actions of one who is creative to one who is unoriginal. First situation: when given a difficult assignment, you, creativity, seek for innovative solutions, thinking out of the box. Unoriginality: use a past solution, thinking that is the easy way out. In your daily life, second situation, you, creativity, strive to explore new patterns and find better ways of doing things. Unoriginality: find comfort in your routines and avoid anything different. Third situation: after studying others' ideas, you, creativity, build on the basic concepts to develop a fresh approach. Unoriginality: complacently adopt one of the ideas without alteration. And moment of reflection: take a moment to identify a few ways in which you could improve in creativity. And the assignment for 2 weeks at night just before sleep: write down a task you are working on, describing it accurately and completely. Go to sleep with the expectation that a creative, new approach will come to you from your intuition soon after you awake in the morning. So that works very well. when the subconscious mind is calm and at the time of going to sleep. Our third topic is satsang, answers to questions sent to satsang@hindu.org. Today's question is, how does one overcome desire in meditation? Okay, and this slide shouldn't be there. It's helpful to distinguish between types of desires. You are meditating shortly before lunchtime and you experience the desire to eat lunch. That is the desire that you won't be able to overcome in meditation, particularly if you see the meal beforehand. That's a nice looking meal. However, if you have a desire to eat a particular food because you think it is going to make you really happy, then that is a desire that could be overcome in meditation. Why is that? It is because it is based on a false concept. For example, you have seen a number of ads about the product and the people eating it looked really happy. In meditation, you can intuitively see the source of the false concept, which is viewing the ads many times, and then eliminate the desire. Because it's not true. It's just an advertisement. They're just pretending in order to sell the product. That's the short answer. Then we get a longer one. Living with Shiva, there's a classic question. What way is there to control our desires and thus stay balanced? Years ago, in 1950, I answered this concisely in an aphorism of cognizant ability, which you can read, Emerging with Shiva. Here is that aphorism. The seed of desire is a false concept in relation to corresponding objects. So the seed means the origin, that which created the desire. Such as in our previous example, seeing the ads of the product and happy people that put the seed of desire into the mind. The conscious mind throws into its subconscious a series of erroneous thoughts based upon a false concept. This creates a deep-rooted desire complex. Single out the seed of desire by disregarding all other corresponding erroneous thoughts. Then destroy that seed through understanding its relation in itself and to all other corresponding thoughts. The deep-rooted desire complex will then vanish. Our deep-rooted desires or complexes, which are the battle within everyone during certain periods of life, must be diffused first. But in order to diffuse them, we have to find them. In other words, we have to bring our mind to a point where we can concentrate without any effort, where our mind is so calm and so quiet that we have effortless concentration. Otherwise, you can't find them. It's like looking down in water that has a lot of movement going on. You can't see what's at the bottom, even though it's shallow. We got to calm the mind before we can find the seat. In other words, we have to bring our mind to a point where the subconscious mind itself is concentrated, giving birth to an inner peace which surpasses all understanding. Get off to a good start now and congratulate yourself on the fact that you have at last found the key to remove all your suppressions, repressions, unqualified feelings, unfulfilled desires through the application of right thought. Concentration digs up the seed in this manner and brings it before the mind as a fact, not as an elusive remnant of fiction. Call upon your inner intelligence to help you and guide your unfoldment from within. Show to your own mind the seed of desire, which may be far divorced from the desire itself. It may be so far removed you will wonder how it was ever connected and was able to create the desire in the first place. In this wondering, you begin the birth pains of understanding. And when the birth is complete through qualified thinking, the seed will vanish, and the desire will resolve itself into the halls of memory. Your major desires should be qualified first, then you can tackle the subtle ones. This law can be a tremendous help to you on the path of enlightenment, for the world is a place in which we learn. Therefore, all things of which we lack understanding represent a challenge to us to qualify and resolve in our own consciousness. Then we have some of Patanjali here. First 16 verses of chapter 2. We'll go through them pretty quickly. Kriya Yoga is comprised of austerity, self-study, and devotion to Ishvara. So Kriya Yoga in modern Hindu teachings most often refers to a pranayama technique, Paramahansa Yogananda, Babaji, the lineages. So that's different. Here the term Kriya Yoga simply means yoga of action. Kriya, one of the meanings of Kriya is action. So we know austerity, tapas, self-study, swadhyaya, devotion to Ishvara, Ishvara pranidhana. These are the niyamas in 3 of the 5 niyamas in Patanjali's system. This yoga has the purpose of bringing about samadhi and attenuating the kleshas. Oh, we're talking about kleshas. That's the word we're going to understand. Harmonic Academy Lexicon gives this definition of klesha: 5 forms of wrong cognition. So wrong cognition is another way of saying the same thing as Gurudeva says with the idea of false concept. The seed of desire is a false concept. The seed of desire is a wrong cognition. So same thing, just different English words. So we get 5 of them. Ignorance, I amness, attraction, aversion, and clinging to life are the 5 kleshas. These 5 kleshas can all be attenuated by the practice of Kriya Yoga, lessened. So our devotional practices lessen the wrong cognitions. Ultimately, the kleshas can be completely obliterated through the experience of the highest form of samadhi, dharma mega samadhi. So ignorance is the breeding ground, first klesha, of the other kleshas, whether dormant, attenuated, intercepted, or activated. So that's the basic principle, ignorance. Ignorance is seeing that which is impermanent, impure, sorrowful, or not self as permanent, pure, joyful, and as self. So that's our food example. We're seeing the food, which is impermanent, impure, sorrowful, and not self, as being permanent, pure, joyful, and as self. We have a false concept. We have ignorance about what it is. So in common usage, ignorance refers to not knowing how to do something, such as being ignorant about caring for dairy cows. But this type of philosophical ignorance is referring to looking at something and totally mistaking its nature. We're wrongly cognizing it. So I amness is the identification, as it were, of the powers of vision and visioner. So that's the idea in Gurudeva's teachings of awareness identifying with consciousness. Attraction is that which rests on pleasant experiences. So attraction is another word for desire, which was the word used in our question. The Sanskrit is raga, attraction. So the reason we are attracted to things is often we've had pleasant experiences with them in the past. Aversion is that which rests on sorrowful experiences. The inborn tendency of clinging to life is that's rooted even in sages. These kleshas in their subtle form are overcome by the process of involution within the individual. So that's a very deep process whereby we're withdrawing totally from the physical and astral planes. This one is easier. As mental activities, they are overcome through meditation. So that's what all this is leading up to is, that's Gurudeva's point. We find the seed of desire and remove it through meditation. And in order for that meditation to work, the subconscious has to be calm. So this is what Patanjali is leading up to. We overcome these wrong cognitions through meditation when they're mental activities. Kleshas are the root source of the stored karma, and this may be experienced in the present visible birth or in an unseen future birth. So because of these attraction, aversion, ignorance, I amness, and clinging to life, we act, creating karma that binds us. So the kleshas are the source of our actions, and the actions are the source of our karma. So therefore, we need to control the kleshas in order to eventually stop creating karma. So long as this root source exists, there is also fruition from it of one's class, lifespan, and life experiences. This is a very interesting one. The word that is translated as class is jati, social rank or status of a person's birth. And it's very interesting that these three aspects of karma are what Patanjali points out, that we're born and our karma has created for us our birth status, span of life, how long we're going to live, and what we're going to experience in this life. All of that comes from our karma. These experiences are pleasant or unpleasant as the fruit of meritorious and non-meritorious actions in the past, respectively. Men of discrimination see sorrow in all experience, whether from the sorrow of impermanence, from the experience of suffering and its memory, or from the gunas causing conflicting mental activities. So my comment is, an ordinary person focuses on the initial enjoyment that comes from experiences. A wise man, however, looks at it from the opposite point of view, which is that all experiences eventually lead to sorrow. And that which is to be overcome is sorrow that is yet to come. So we'll skip the comment on that. Last one, Gurudeva's insight into joy and sorrow. Somewhere the idea was born that man should live in states of happiness and joy all of the time. But in the first place, happiness and joy depend upon unhappiness and sorrow, even to be recognized or appreciated. Man would only know that whatever emotion transpires within him foreshadows its opposite. Patanjali's point, right? Secondly, suffering is a greater intensity, a higher vibration than happiness. You do not learn much from your happiness. You learn from the states of suffering, which awaken the higher consciousness of your soul. But suffering has no value for its own sake. When the mind recognizes it is suffering over something or other, it is time to practice meditation, to see into the causes, to expand your consciousness a little bit more, so that you will grasp the workings of life and its karmic laws. Then you will attain to a greater intensity than either joy or suffering has to offer. You will view the wheel of life, of cause and effect, objectively, and you will not so quickly identify yourself with the lower emotions or the objects of your own mind's creation. So, thank you very much. Oh.